All right, everyone. Welcome to the Genis What You Need deck tech. This is a UPF deck using Genis What You Need, a hero from Everfest, built around building up a bunch of items and befriending your opponents until eventually you kill all of them. So I'll go over Genis What You Need's ability. It's a hero with 4 int and 20 health, and a once per turn action, spend 2 resources. Each other hero may put a card from their hand on the bottom of their deck. If they draw a card, if they do, they draw a card and you create a silver token. If you gain no silver this way, draw a card. So basically, if nobody chooses to do the ability, then you get to draw a card yourself for 2 resources. But if at least one person does the ability, you're going to be getting silver tokens. Silver tokens are just a token with the action spend 3 resources, destroy the silver, and draw a card, and then go again. So that is Genis's basic built-in ability. I will quickly go through the equipment that we're going to be using on Genis. The first equipment is Silver Palms. It's a merchant equipment with Blade Break 2. At the start of each other hero's turn, if they have less life than you, they may draw a card. If they do, you create a silver token. So this card is a little bit interesting. Silver tokens are very important for our deck, but obviously letting our opponents draw cards is not that great. Generally, how you want to use this card is to convince your opponents not to attack you because you would like to have higher life than them, so they draw extra cards and kill your other opponents. That's literally all it is, but if people figure out that you're on a strong deck, at least this has Blade Break 2 and you can get out of the way, block some stuff, and then stop giving your opponents extra cards. The next one is a chest piece, Findel Spring Tunic. I think everyone knows what this one does. It's just a solid chest piece. We're going to be running it everywhere except for when we need Arcane Barrier. Next one is Mage Master Boots. This is because we actually are running Tome of Findel in the list, and we'll talk about that later. But this basically costs 1 to give your next non-attack go again, and that way you can draw cards off Tome of Findel, gain life, and then still do something with your turn. The headpiece is Arcanite Skullcap. You're going to need all the block you can get once people figure out that you might actually be able to kill them. This also has the benefit of Arcane Barrier 3, which is very important actually when there's a Kano in the ring, because this Arcane Barrier 3 turns on when you have less life than any opposing hero, not just the Kano. So say the Kano is on 15 and you're on 20, but there's a Valda in the game who starts on 21. You actually start with your Skullcap turned on immediately, and you can have a bunch of Arcane Barrier against the Kano. So those are your basic equipment pieces, and then your weapon. To be honest, this was a really hard choice. There were a lot of really good options, but I ended up on Talishar. The hidden on-hit of giving your opponent tetanus when you connect with the Talishar because of the rust counters is pretty strong, but other than that, it does attack for 4 and cost 2. Unfortunately, once it has 3 rust counters on it from attacking, you also have to destroy this weapon. So then we have just the extra slots for the Blitz equipment. We have Null Rune Gloves and Null Rune Robe. When there's a Rune Blade, all we need to do is bring in the Null Rune Robe or Gloves, depending on if you want to run the Silver Palms. When there's a Kano close to you, you want to be running Skullcap, Robe, and Gloves. That gives you a total of Arcane Barrier 5 whenever you're less life than any of your opponents, which is very strong. And then if you're next to a KO, then I would run the Gambler's Gloves just for some insurance to make sure you can get to the late game without dying to a huge KO swing. So there's our equipment, and then I'll go into the actual deck. So from left to right, we'll start with just the good stuff, the basic strong stuff that we want to have in the deck. The first one is Gorganian Tome. This is, you can only have 1 of it in your deck. Draw X cards where X is 1 plus the number of Gorganian Tomes in all graveyard. To be honest, if you're playing UPF and you don't have Gorganian Tome in your deck, I suggest putting Gorganian Tome in your deck so that I can draw more cards after you play yours. The next one is 1 Fate Foreseen and 2 Sink Belows. This is because we need to actually live to the late game. The other great benefit of these cards is that we can sit one of these in Arsenal until we draw our Gorganian Tome, and then, well, not the Sink Belows, but the Fate Foreseen in Arsenal until we draw our Gorganian Tome, similarly with Enlightened Strike, so that we can actually bottom the Tome and come back later, because we don't want other people to get value off the Tome, and we want to give value to ourselves off the Tome. The next one is Command and Conquer. I heard there's some tryhards out there that play Prism and UPF, so you want to have a 6 power to block them, but otherwise it's just a solid attack, and I think it fits nicely into the deck to be doing some stuff in the meantime. But be careful about attacking your opponents. You really want people to like you, and if they start attacking you, you'll probably just die because of how fragile the deck is before the end of the game. The next two are Blue Drone of Brutality. We're really taking advantage of the fact that this is not banned in UPF, and it's pretty busted to have a recurring card. If you, for some reason, can't kill your opponent, this is just a recurring threat, and if they don't have it in their deck, you might actually just win because of that. Otherwise, it's a blue, and we need lots of blues for our game plan, and it stays in our deck after we block, so it's really great. We have Unmovable because I actually respect Valda. The problem is we're going to be causing a lot of our opponents and ourselves to draw cards, and whenever anyone else draws a card, Valda gets a Seismic Surge. So if Valda ends up with a bunch of Seismic Surges and they're next to you and they try to start attacking you, you're really going to want to have these Unmovables in Arsenal, and it's a blue, so it's pretty solid. This one's controversial. I know not everyone has this card. That's totally fine. To be honest, I just wanted to find a use for it because I own one. The game can go long. You can be less life than any opposing hero to gain 1 life off of this. And pitching this to activate Genis, gain a life, maybe get some silvers is a pretty solid turn. If you don't have this, I would probably put 1 more item, maybe 1 more Command and Conquer, or any number of other things. And then the last one is Remembrance. So we have Remembrance in the deck because there is a chance that you might draw some aggression before you get to the end game, and if you lose too many of your combo pieces, you're just not going to be able to win because the deck is very focused on going off at the end of the game. So this is going to get back Time Snap Potion, things that maybe you had to discard off of Pummel, Tome of Fiendals. Importantly, it can get back attacks because we're using Talishar. If you lose your Talishar, you need to actually kill your opponent somehow. Blue Drone of Brutality might not be enough for that. So you can get back your Enlightened Strikes. You could get back like 1 Crazy Brew, 1 life of the party, and then maybe an Enlightened Strike, and then have some extra fuel in your deck. So I think Remembrance is pretty great to include. The next one is our suite of items. So we have 2 Crazy Brew. This is because we have Life of the Party. And if you get one of these down early in the late game, Life of the Party is pretty great. I'm going to show that when we get to the later section, but we'll leave that for later. The next one is Healing Potion. It is a potion, so it's searchable off of Knickknack Bric-a-Brac, but basically it costs an action to put down, so that's all you're doing on your turn, but you can destroy it to gain 2 life. I could put Sigils in, but this is a blue, so it at least pitches for silver, and Sigil does not. I could definitely hear arguments for putting Sigil in instead, though. The next one is Potion of Strength. This is an important one for you to get your late game spikes, destroy it, give your next attack +2, and that's pretty good. It can even apply to Talishar, because it doesn't say attack action card. So if you're in a pinch, you can use these to get over your opponent's defenses. Energy Potion is in here to enable some of our late game attacks like Exude and Fire Breathing. So that's another good one. And then we have 2 Time Snap Potions. This is because a lot of our attacks do not have Go Again, but it's also because we're running 2 Tome of Fiendals and we only have 1 Mage Master Boots. So Time Snap Potion is going to be useful for casting those as well. So we're going to go through some of our enablers. I'm going to actually do it in this order. One problem with this deck is that sometimes your opponents figure out that it's actually very good for you to have silver tokens, and they will stop giving you silvers after you keep spamming the Genis ability. So you're going to need to get silver some other way. That's where this card comes in. Pick a card, any card. Look at target opponent's hand, name a card, and then for the red one, you're going to do the process 4 times. For the yellow one, you're going to do it 3 times. You name the card, reveal a random card from their hand. If you reveal the card that you named, then you get a silver token. And if they have like a red disable and a yellow disable, and you name disable, there's actually both of those count. So this card's pretty good for generating silvers. You might not always hit all of your silvers off of it, but you really need extra ways to generate silver in this deck. So we have 2 reds and 1 yellow of this, and it's an action with Go Again. So you can play pick a card, any card, and then lay down a potion afterwards, and that's a pretty solid turn. The next one is Knickknack Bric-a-Brac, and this is one of the main payoffs for silver tokens. As an additional cost to play this, you can destroy any number of copper, silver, or gold you control. And then for every 2 silver, since we don't generate coppers or gold in this deck, for every 2 silver destroyed this way, repeat the process. Search your deck for a card with amulet, potion, or talisman in its name. So sadly, you cannot search Crazy Brew, but the rest of the potions in the deck you can search. Unfortunately, it costs 3 and it does not have Go Again. So one of your combos could be that you already have a Time Snap down, and then you pop the Time Snap, cast this, get a bunch of Potion of Strengths and Energy Potions, and then pump up an Exude to kill your opponent. But otherwise, if you have a bunch of silvers in the mid game, you can just cast this to get set up to try to kill on the next turn. The next one is Tome of Fyendal. This is just a solid card to play from Arsenal. Given that you have this card, which is Cash in the deck, you can actually be above 4 cards by the time you cast Tome of Fyendal, especially if you use a Time Snap potion and a Tunic counter. So if you break a Time Snap and then use Tunic counter to cast Tome of Fyendal, you'll have 4 cards in hand and you'll draw 2 and gain 6 life. If one of your cards is Cash in, you'll cast this, go up to 5 cards, use your Tunic counter for Tome of Fyendal, and actually draw 2 more cards and gain 7 life. So Tome of Fyendal is pretty great. We have Mage Master Boots and Time Snap to enable it. Like I was talking about, Cash in, it costs 4, or you can destroy 2 silvers rather than pay its cost, and it has draw 2 cards and Go Again, and we have both of these. So those are both great card draw mechanics that we have in the deck. The last step is actually trying to kill our opponents. E-Strike is just a solid card. We can pop Time Snap to give it +2 and then attack again after it. We can pop Time Snap to draw a card so that we can try to attack with Talishar after it. But in general, if you're drawing a bunch of cards, E-Strike is going to be a good card to have Go Again and attack with something else. The next one is Exude, Confidence, and Fire Breathing. You want to keep these cards in the deck until the end of the game. Exude Confidence attacks for 4, and then you can pay 3 any number of times to pump it by 2. So if you cast Exude Confidence from Arsenal, and then you have 4 blues in hand, you can actually get this up to 12 damage, which is not bad for silly Genis. Fire Breathing attacks for 3, and then you can pay 1 to add 1 power to it. So if you have 4 blues in hand with Fire Breathing costs 2, so the first blue will go towards casting Fire Breathing and then pumping it by 1 to 4, and then the other 3 blues give it 9 more. So this one's actually going to be for 13, I believe, off of Arsenal plus 4 blues. Of course, if you have Energy Potions and Potion of Strength out, it's going to be even better. The card that's overperformed for me is Life of the Party. It can either cost 2 and then randomly choose a mode between Go Again, +2, or on hit gain 2 life. Or instead of paying 2, you can discard or destroy a card named Crazy Brew, and then it gains everything. So if you discard Crazy Brew, it's actually going to be 6 damage, Go Again, gain 2 life on hit for free. So if you get a Crazy Brew down early, that's awesome. And then my personal favorite card in the deck is Last Ditch Effort. So when you have no cards left in your deck, Last Ditch Effort gains +4 and Go Again. It costs 3 and it has a base power of 4. So if you have no cards in your deck, this card is actually 8 damage with Go Again, and you can have 2 of them. Normally, it's pretty hard to get this set up and have no cards in your deck. It used to be a win con for Guardians in Blitz against... It would fatigue itself, actually. It would block a bunch of damage and then set up a Last Ditch Effort kill turn with 2 Last Ditch Efforts into a Hammer Swing for 6. But with Genis, we have Silver Token, and the combo between these 2 cards is amazing. You could literally have like 4 blues in hand, 4 silver tokens down, and then you draw into the last 4 cards of your deck. So you have 4 cards in your pitch zone, but then no cards in your deck. And then the last 4 cards in your deck are 2 blues and 2 Last Ditch Efforts. And then say you had like a Life of the Party in Arsenal, you could literally go Last Ditch Effort for 8 Go Again, another 8, and then Life of the Party for 6 with an on hit, which is 22 damage in a turn. And it's actually not that hard to do, especially considering that you have other ways to draw cards like Cash In and Tome of Fyendal and go net positive on your card draw. So a super great way to end the game. is to set a Tome of Fyendal in Arsenal, have like 4 cards left in the deck, 4 cards in hand. You pop your Time Snap, you cast your Tome of Fyendal, gain a bunch of life, and then use the rest of your cards to break your silvers, filter the cards out of your deck and into your hand, and then you go in with the last ditch efforts and go for the kill. So yeah, this has some really great late game potential to get crazy kills off. Your Exude Confidences and Fire Breathings are very threatening, especially if you pop a Time Snap beforehand, so the opponent you're attacking doesn't know if you're going to pump the Fire Breathing up or come in with another attack after the fact. So there's good mind games there. And then just in general, this game plan of getting down all these potions, like the Potions of Strength, the Energy Potions, the Time Snaps, it really builds up. And then if you're in a pinch, you can pop a Time Snap, cast your Knick-Knack Bric-a-Brac, and then go off right away if you need to kill one of your opponents. Generally, like I said earlier, the game plan is to befriend your opponents and try not to attack them very much in the early game, because you don't want to get attacked back. You just want to accrue your silvers. You want to peacefully place down your items. You want to be nice and let your opponents draw cards off of silver palms, and also give you silvers and filter their own hand off of Genis's ability. So after all of that happens, eventually you have to flip the switch and try to win the game, and that's when you come in with your attacks. So you would maybe think that having Drone of Brutality and Heart of Fyendal in the deck, as well as other hard castable things like Unmovable, is hard to get out of your deck unless you're playing against a Valda or a Guardian or something, or maybe you just use it against a tall attack in the early game. But it's okay because, like I said, you have the silvers. So even if you literally have like 2 drones, you have 3 Unmovables and Heart of Fyendal, and then 2 Last Ditch Efforts in your deck, and then you draw into like 2 Unmovables and 2 Drone of Brutalities, you might think that your deck's not doing much, but you literally just pay for a silver, draw a card, pay for a silver, draw a card, pay for a silver, draw a card, and then now you have no cards in deck, 3 cards in pitch, and then you have 2 Last Ditch Efforts to come in with. And then after this, if you saved a Remembrance in Arsenal, you could actually Remembrance the Last Ditch Efforts back into the deck and then do the exact same thing on the next turn. So this is the deck. I hope you guys have fun with it or are inspired by it. I'm interested in hearing what improvements you guys might have, and what suggestions you have for maybe changing some cards. I used to have Talisman of... what is it? Talisman of Interference or... oh, Talisman of Intervention. I used to have this card in the deck because it has Go Again as opposed to Potion of Healing. But this only nets you 1 life if you're about to die by Exaxes. But Healing Potion is 2 life that can sit on the board until you absolutely need it. So it's like having 2 life banked, but your Skull Cap can be turned on for a little bit longer, and your opponent's Skull Cap can be turned off for a little while longer. So I actually like Healing Potion a little better than Amulet of Intervention in this deck. But I could see going back to the other one, or maybe consider changing some of the other cards in the deck as well. Maybe Healing Potion could be changed to something else. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys think about the deck. If you have any luck playing it in some UPF games this weekend at New Jersey or in your own home games, let me know how they go. And then let me know also what other deck you might be playing in UPF, because the format's actually pretty fun. Like, I played it for the first time the other day with my brother and some friends and had a lot of fun with Genis, took down a couple games, and then they realized that this can get out of hand, and then I started getting targeted. But if you're playing with a bunch of strangers, they might not know if they haven't watched this video, and you might be able to steal some UPF games and maybe even get a lore book. But thanks everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe. That'd be greatly appreciated. And then also take a look at the last video on the channel where we revealed that we were accepted into the content creator program with LSS. And if you get to that soon enough, you should be able to leave a comment on there, like and subscribe, and then be entered into the raffle to get some Herald of Rebirths as well as potentially a playmat. So thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.